This is the silly season of sports right now. The moment between the end of the Super Bowl and the start of the league year, which is March, it's a month from now.
Yeah.
So you've got a month. Albert Breer has 6 columns a day to write. Peter King has a Monday morning quarterback to write every week, or whatever he calls it now.
Football morning in America or whatever. Yeah.
You've got Todd Archer has 6 stories to write a day.
And they're great stories.
And they're great. John Machota's got a half dozen to write a day. And you just make things up. Because
let's be a little careful. They use more like generalized evergreen topics, but don't make things up.
Yeah,
I would never accuse.
I'm not talking about really Machota and Archer. I'm talking about your national
some national people. This is their window to create their clickbait because it's a dead period.
It's like, you never know what's going to happen here. We might see this or that, and I just ignore 85% of the stories that go on this time of year.
Sure.
I don't ignore them. I just kind of look at them with a
little bit of skepticism.
Stink eye.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
A Schlereth eye.
Yeah. And this one, does not fall into that. But the point of what I was saying is we are going to be sitting here determining ourselves and trying to figure out what all in actually means. We just are. That's just the reality of it. And this article here from ESPN, where they asked every team's sort of local beat writer to determine what this question, the biggest question for each team is. And for the Cowboys, it was, surprisingly or not, how will team owner Jerry Jones define all in 2024? That's the question.
Which we've looked at this, and you believe that what he's talking about is just re-signing people.
I believe what Jerry says we're going all in is that, he's not going to sign guys from other teams that are mega free agents. Like, who's the biggest free agent going to be this year?
Chris Jones, probably.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to sign Chris Jones. I do think he's going to sign Micah and CD and Dak Prescott. I do think, and that to him is all in. And I don't necessarily disagree with that philosophy that re-signing your own players is all in.
I do. Like I think we talk, or at least what people interpret that phrase to normally mean. You've got to make the distinction if that's not what you mean, because pushing the chips all in sounds to people like you're going to make aggressive moves outside your own building. Because I think run it back is what people think of when they hear what you're talking about. All in to them sounds like we are going to push all of our chips in and make some gambles here. I mean, clearly that's how people have interpreted it. Because that's how...
Yeah, I mean, I think it's wrong. I think it's incorrect. But yes, that's how they interpret it.
Like last year, would you view the moves of Gilmore and Cooks as all-in type of moves? Or you don't think that applies? You think all-in could mean several things, basically, is what you're saying. And that's just one of them is re-signing your own guys.
Yeah, I mean, look, Cooks and Gilmore, they were starters.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's all in.
Significant starters. Sure.
Yeah, and those are 5th round guys.
But those are outside the building acquisitions.
Yeah, but they didn't give them first round picks. They didn't give them first round picks to get them. They didn't sign them to $25 million deals.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
I think people see all in and they're like, oh man, we got to get Chris Jones.
But knowing that's how people view it, shouldn't Jerry have some sort of measured approach in the way that he says that? Because that is how people are going to hear all in. They hear all in and they go, you are going to be competitive at people hear all in, especially in this market, and they think of what the Rangers did.
Mm-hmm.
You went and got Seager, you went and got Simeon, you went and got DeGrom, you traded for Scherzer. That's all in. That's how they view it.
You're talking about Jerry Jones here?
No, but I'm just saying in general, the fan base around here, the fan bases, I think fans, when they hear all in, they think of those type of moves. So knowing that's how fans think of the moves, you need to have that measured approach of understanding what those words will mean and the gravity they carry with your fan base.
Yeah, look, I get it. But Jerry's not. That's not his style. Right, his style is to be. He's a promoter. He's P.T. Barnum.
And I understand that. I just think that when you talk about when you're talking about the words that you use and the language that you use and how important that the Cowboys have been very calculated, wouldn't you agree, over the last couple of years with the way that they're using their off-season phrases and the way that they're communicating to the fan base and the way they're communicating expectations? Haven't they been very calculated about those things? And Jerry historically has been very calculated in the words that he wants to use and how he wants that to impact the outside view of the team, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
So knowing that, Jerry's got to have an understanding of what all in means or what the assumption is from people when they hear all in.
Yeah, I think from Jerry's standpoint, he's just like, let him talk about us. Like that, like all in would say, we know what all in means to us. You know, like if Jerry says, now look, some people can say all in means we're going to trade a first round pick for a starting player. It could mean we're going to sign an outside guy to a top 20% contract or whatever within their position, top 10%. And it could mean that we're just going to re-sign all these guys and we're going to go ahead and run it back. But got a new DC. Hey, not all the same.
But yeah, but that was not of their doing.
No,
they didn't. They wish they could have run it back.
Or he could also be saying that by going back and by re-signing these guys is showing a commitment to the current roster. I don't know.
Yeah, that I could see. I know the way that fans interpret what that means and knowing that. Now here's what I'll say. I don't believe that the Cowboys, this is what I think the Cowboys offseason is going to look like. I think they definitely get something done with CeeDee Lamb. I lean towards they're going to get something done with Dak Prescott, but I'm not certain about that. I don't think they get anything done with Micah Parsons. I don't think that deal gets done.
They're doing or his?
Just in general, their slow approach to things typically, and I don't think that Micah or his team would be opposed to the idea of, all right, let it play out a little bit more. Let us earn some more money. We'll take it.
Let me ask you this sidebar. If Jerry changes things up, all right, let's just say he used the term all in. He used the term, he did use the term all in. If they go sign guys out of the organization this offseason, and that is him signifying we are now all in, does that mean they weren't all in before?
So when I think all in, I think win now. Like I think of like it is desperate that we win now. And to me, you have not won with the current guys that you have, right? So you've made all-in moves like the ones where you go and get, I think Gilmore and Cooks qualify as all-in moves. They don't have to be super expensive to be all-in moves. You're going and getting players outside your building. You're going outside your comfort zone to acquire veteran starters. I think that counts and that matters. So to me, I think that they will play in the free agent waters this year. I absolutely think they will get, I would bet you they get minimum 2 starters on their team next year outside their building, probably more. And to me, that is all in. In the past, I think that they made some all-in moves previously, and then there have been other times like, look at what Mark Cuban did in the immediate aftermath of the Mavericks winning the title. The following offseason was not all in. It wasn't. It was an adjustment. It was an adjustment period, and I think that Jerry's just trying to signal to the fan base that, hey, I'm here to make the moves with this current roster in place to push this roster forward. We're not rebuilding anything. We're not tearing anything down. There's no renovation here. This is progressing with this group and trying to add to it. So I think that they have been all in and they haven't gotten the results they wanted. And so what he's saying now is that he's saying, hey, we're going to continue to build on this. We think this core can win, but we clearly can't just run this back. That's why I don't think all in can only mean re-signing your own. They have to add. They absolutely have to add, because you cannot say that this core is enough to get it done, because it hasn't been enough to get it done.
That's true. It hasn't been enough. Then again, has it not been enough because of they haven't signed the right guys, they don't have a good enough roster, or they just got unlucky, or they had bad coaching decisions, bad quarterback play, bad defense at certain points? I mean, there could be any number of reasons why it didn't work.
I don't think this roster is... I think this roster is good enough to win, for the most part.
I think generally it is. They, for some reason, look, they're not as good as San Francisco's roster.
No.
No.
But they are. Look, we did this exercise.
Better than Kansas City.
We went through this exercise a couple weeks back. You remember where we tried to quantify the quality of their roster.
Yeah. What'd you say? They're fourth? Something like that?
They were third behind Baltimore and San Francisco. And so, to me, I think that they are, even if you want to nitpick that exact placement, to me, they are definitively a top 5 roster. They've got the players.
Yeah, I think Baltimore, San Fran, Cowboys, Detroit, and maybe Philly. Would those be the 5 best? Rosters.
I mean, I think Kansas City's defense is really, they're short on pass catchers, but everything else I think Kansas City's got is really, really good.
That's true.
So to me, Kansas City, Baltimore, San Fran, Dallas, maybe Detroit or Miami. One of those.
Yeah, Miami's got a good one. And it's showing you, like, also, like, you know, with Mahomes, it's just like, man, the dude's on a different planet. His offensive weapons are just not there, and they're still winning.
Yeah.
Because he is him. He is him. Okay, so real quick. Now, I did notice this while reading this article, is that the 3 organizations were named by name, where they named the owner or GM in their offseason questions.
Really?
So just 3 organizations. Cowboys were one.
Mm-hmm.
The Raiders were the other. And then Seattle. The Raiders are as dysfunctional as any team in the league. And Seattle just ran up their coach. I don't know. I just saw, like, when I saw the Cowboys, and I was like, oh, wow. I'm just trying to go look down the list. I was like, man, so far we're the only ones who have been mentioned, and the owner or GM is the one that's mentioned by name. None of the other teams have that. They all have a player. They all have decisions. We had the actual owner and GM mentioned. And then the only other one with the GM mentioned was the Raiders, until you got down to the very bottom, and it was Seattle. And Seattle's got a little dysfunction going on this offseason.
I think Seattle's building something solid.
I do too, but, like, you know, it was very weird. Like, you know, Pete Carroll gone out of nowhere. Out of nowhere, he was fired. I was like, I don't want to be linked in with anything that says Raiders on it.
Yeah, look, I mean, do you want to be tied to dysfunction? No, but the reality is that this is just such a different, unique setup.
It is
here in Dallas than anywhere else.
No doubt.
I mean, having the owner and GM title is just it's a unique situation here for the Cowboys, and so it matters more. And so and I do think that this is a fair question. Because you're starting to run out of reason when you see the talent and you see the way that they've fallen short in previous years, Chop. What is it that you're supposed to you start running out of superlatives and questions and markers really quickly, and it does become about what Jerry's going to do, because everything else around it seems to be, well, this seems to be good. This seems to be in place. Yep. What's Jerry going to do to make sure that this team gets over the top? Because he's ultimately the one building things and giving the rubber stamp or the thumbs up to everything.
You would think it's whatever all in means to him. Whatever that means to him, that's probably what he's going to wind up doing. I don't think he's going to change a thing. Personally, I don't think he is. They have a philosophy. They like their plan. They think that just re-signing their own guys is the right thing to do. I don't necessarily disagree with it. I don't necessarily think it's right, but I also don't disagree with it. But I think that's what they're going to do, man. They're just going to re-sign their own guys, and that's it.
I think they'll play in the veteran
shallow end.
I think they'll play in the veteran pool as much as they did last season. When they go get a Cooks and a Gilmore, whatever else, they'll look for their values. I think linebacker could very well be where they try to shop instead of try to get that through the draft. Like, let's go find veteran linebackers that we can trust and we know what kind of IQ they have.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't necessarily disagree that they might try that. It would not be. Look, they have put a lot of money in the linebacker, or a lot of maybe not money, but a lot of capital in it with the draft pick.